Hello there, today I am here to do the first half of my June wrap up. It's a little bit late, I'm aware of that, however I went away last week, just got back yesterday, very sad about it. But I thought rather than rush myself to get it done and ready for when I went away, I was just gonna chill out and do it now, and so you're gonna have 2 wrap ups in a row, so that's that. Anyway, so these are the books that I read before I went away in the first half of the month. There's only 3 here, and to be honest, it wasn't the best. So I started with Maggie O'Farrell's The Hand That Held Mine. Now Maggie O'Farrell, I have to be honest, she's never been an author that has overly appealed to me. However, last year I read her memoir, I Am, which looks at kind of the situations in which she has faced death or had brushes with death, whether they be sort of quite removed or whether they be directly her life was endangered. And I really enjoyed it. I really loved the writing style. It was really beautiful. So on the back of that, I thought I would pick her up, and one that I've heard a lot about is The Hand That First Held Mine. Now this is kind of a multi-generational novel which follows women in 2 different timelines. We have Lexi, who is moving to London in the 1950s and sort of undertaking her life in London, I suppose, and we follow her relationships and her struggles. And then we also, on the side of that, follow a couple called Lena and Ted, who are pretty much in the modern day, I think, or as this was written anyway, and they have just become parents, and it's kind of looking at their struggle. And Lena had quite a difficult birth, and she's kind of got a bit of post-traumatic stress about that, and she's blocked out a lot of it, and it's her coming to terms with that, and also them just coming to terms with their parenting journey and coming together with it as a couple. And obviously they're all interlinked in some way. Now this would not be typically a book that I would pick up for the cover, and also for the premise it doesn't necessarily grip me. I have to say it was exactly as I expected it would be. It was fine, it was pleasant. Did it impact me? Not at all. I don't think I will rush out to read another Maggie O'Farrell, sadly. I just don't think she's my kind of author. I think if you like really character-driven books, then this is definitely for you. It's definitely character-driven, and it does look at character very well, but for me, it just didn't really hit the spot. It kind of felt like the kind of book that maybe my mum would enjoy, if you know what I mean, which sounds really mean. I know a lot of people love Maggie O'Farrell, but for me it just didn't float my boat, sadly, so I don't know that I'll be revisiting her, but that was that one. Then I finally got around to Est by J.J. Abrams and Doug Dorst. Now I have had this on my shelf for about 5 years, and I have to be honest, I bought it because it is a thing of beauty, and I don't know that I ever fully intended to read it. However, I am so glad I did. Now I think the best way to describe this book is to take it out. So inside the slipcover that it comes with, we have a book called The Ship of Theseus by V.M. Straka. This is a fictionalized library book, if you will. It's a made-up library book, and inside we have, let me find a page that nothing's going to fall out of. We have the story, and then there are annotations throughout, and there are also little extra bits that come out throughout with notes on them and things like that. And it's basically, we get the library book itself, so we get the story of the Ship of Theseus, but we also get this conversation between 2 people who have been taking the book out and leaving each other notes and little inserts and things, and it turns into a bit of a mystery, where there is something of a mystery surrounding the author who wrote the supposed library book. He never revealed himself, but there was a lot of discussion about who he was, and also whether he was still alive or whether he'd been killed or what had happened. And they kind of discuss that, and as it goes further into their discussions, things start to happen to them, and it's just a lovely book. I enjoyed it so much. Now I'm not gonna lie, it's not like the best literature in the world. Ship of Theseus itself, it was okay, but the ending definitely was a bit lackluster, and obviously the book itself, the body of the book itself is not the main theme of this story in the whole. What was really enjoyable was the interactive experience. It was so much fun to read the footnotes and get to the bits where you had an insert in. It was like being a child again and reading one of those books where you have to flip to the certain page to carry on the journey, and it was so much fun. I have to say, one thing that I would recommend is that you don't try to read the footnotes as you're reading the body of the text, because it's nigh on impossible to follow both stories when you do them like that. What I did was I read the double spread and then I'd go back and read the footnotes and the inserts. I think a lot of people also read the whole chapter of the actual story and then go back and read the footnotes, but I think that would have made it difficult for me because I would have forgotten what I was reading. So I think definitely what I would recommend is reading the double page spread of the actual story and then reading the extras. I gave this 5 stars, and I don't know whether that's justifiable, but I enjoyed it so much, and I think that's kind of what 5-star books should be, books that really you enjoy. And I know when I look back on the year, this is going to be one that really sticks out for me just because it was such a different experience and I really enjoyed it. One complaint I had was that I obviously couldn't take this anywhere and I couldn't take it in the bath, etc. But other than that, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think J.J. Abrams, who worked on this, is a film director. And that really comes across. It's very cinematic and it's just really enjoyable. If you've got this on your shelf and you have been avoiding it, I would recommend. I don't know if it's still in print. I don't know whether it was, I mean, the work that has gone into this, they are expensive. It was £30. But the work that has gone into it and the fact that someone would have had to put those inserts in there, and it's just beautiful and such good quality, like printing, like the notes actually look like notes. There's tissues in here, like it's just so much fun. And then I finally got around to My Name is Leon by Pt.1. This is a proof copy that I picked up when I was volunteering at the book section of a charity shop. That's how long I've had this on my shelf. I have to say, I don't know, I've heard a lot of good things about this and I know why it's good, but I think a bit like the Maggie O'Farrell, it's not really for me. So this is about a young black boy called Leon, who his mum is not very mentally well and she's also not the best mother. And Leon and his little baby brother end up getting taken into a foster home. The baby brother is a white newborn baby and obviously he gets adopted very quickly, but Leon has to stay behind, and it follows what happens to Leon and how that impacts him, and also how confused he is by the fact that he's lost his brother as well as his mum, and he kind of continually is trying to get back to both of them. It's sad and it's heartbreaking and it's very realistic and I think gritty, and I think we need books like this because there aren't many books that I've come across about foster care, and especially about how black children are treated in foster care, because that's a really important message to get across. That said, this was a little bit twee for me. Like, it's difficult to say that because obviously it deals with really important and hard-hitting issues, but in general it was a little bit twee. I felt even though it did go into these important issues, it almost skimmed the surface. Like, it did kind of go there, but it didn't fully delve into the seriousness of that. It kind of almost skimmed the surface. I mean, it's quite a short book and it was a really quick read, so it does skim a lot. And it gets away with that because it's written from Leon's perspective, so obviously we only know what Leon knows, and it's quite clever actually in that we learn a lot of what is going on from him overhearing. He has a habit of sneaking up and listening in on conversations, and he also takes on worrying behaviours such as theft and things to kind of have some control and have something of his own. So it does deal with things, but I felt like I needed it to deal with things more. I felt like it did brush over and it was a bit twee come the end. It was kind of the happy ending, and I think for a book like this, perhaps the happy ending didn't quite ring true for me, I guess. I know that, you know, it's nice to have a bit of hope after a book like this, but for me it wasn't overly realistic. I enjoyed it, it was fine. Would I rush out and recommend it? Probably not, but as I say, everyone else seems to enjoy it a lot more than I did. It probably just was not for me. So those are the books I read in the first half of the month. Please let me know down below what you've been reading and I will see you next time. Bye.